What's going on? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is part 2 of a workout we were doing the other day where I was fighting a shorter opponent. I was managing my space, keeping him on the outside and working in a position where I can punch and not get hit. Everything was around keeping that shorter opponent at a outside distance. But today, I'm gonna play the role of the shorter opponent, and how do I get inside on someone taller than me? How do you get inside when someone's keeping you on the outside, when they're holding you back, when they're moving, when they're turning you? What do you have to do? So today we're gonna go short versus tall. Enjoy the workout.
So last time we talked about being a taller fighter, trying to keep a shorter fighter away, how to be effective against somebody that's shorter, and being tall is an advantage if you know how to use it, being short's an advantage if you know how to use it. And it really comes down to who's ever fighting in their effective range. You know, so Ben's on the outside, throwing all his punches in the range where he can hit the other guy and the other guy can't hit him. Now, if I'm a shorter fighter, I got my work cut out for me. I'm gonna have to be a lot more active. I'm gonna have to make the fight. I'm gonna have to press the action. Because if there's no action, I'm not doing anything effective, right? They're punching because I want them to punch, because I want them to drain their gas tank. I don't want them punching just because they're trying to hit me. I want them punching and missing, so that gives me my chance to counter punch, create openings, and land my shots. So it's a lot of footwork, it's a lot of head movement, conditioning. If you're the shorter fighter, you gotta be in good shape, be able to throw a lot of punches. The more bullets you fire, the more you're gonna hit the target. If I am in this range as a shorter guy, I know I have to be first, because if I'm not first, he's hitting me where I can't hit him. So whether it's first with head movement, getting in, going, get past, making him work, and then finding the openings. Anytime somebody throws a punch, there's always some place that there's an opening, you know, wherever it is. So I want them punching. The other thing is if they're throwing a lot of punches, they're getting tired. When you get tired, you make mistakes. When you make mistakes, the other person can capitalize on those mistakes. If I'm constantly just taking punches at the end, A, he's not missing big, he hits me and he's right back to the stance. Whereas if I can get him to miss, hopefully he's a little off balance and I can catch him in those bad positions, all right? Also getting in, if I'm making them punch, I know exactly where I need to get to in order to land a punch. So here I'm not gonna reach, but I know that if I block his jab and I take a step about 6 inches, I'm now on the chin. So I can use my opponent's punches to gauge where I need to be in order to land mine. If I just walk straight in, he's adjusting his feet, he's throwing punches. Where if I'm being unpredictable, using my head, moving in, moving out, stuttering in, I'm making them worry about what I'm doing. That gives me an advantage. Ben can make it really difficult, put his hands out. So now, first I gotta get to his hands, and then to try to get to him, it's a lot harder. So if I'm a shorter guy and I'm trying to do that, and I try to counter, I'm way too far away. So I'm gonna bring my hands in, which brings him in, and at least I have a shot to get, you know, I'm close enough to be able to punch. Maybe do a little bit of shadow boxing, Jose and Jamar, Ryan and Ben. Keep that head movement, keep feint. Even in the middle of the head movement, stutter feint. Start and find the body early. I want to break my opponent down. I want to slow him down. Maybe it's hard to find a clean headshot early, but if I find the body will give me the blueprint on how to get to the head. There's definitely ways where I might not be winning the rounds, but I'm being effective, all right? I'm getting closer and closer and closer. I'm draining their gas tank, I'm making them punch. And there's ways of winning a round and being ineffective, you know, where I'm wearing myself out and I'm throwing maybe a lot of hard punches, wasting my energy that are just hitting the gloves, and I'm not putting the right kind of pressure. It depends, like whether it's a 4-round fight or a 10-round fight or a 12-round fight. You know, you gotta know what you're into and how what your game plan is in order to win. Being in that range where maybe my opponent can land some punches, but I know I can, as opposed to being in a position where my opponent can land punches and I know I can't.
Closing that gap, getting behind when they're controlling you with the hands. Right? That's one of the hardest things to get through, is those feints and then not overcommitting. when you do get close, right? Yeah. Because you can get in and you're like, oh, I can't, what do I do?
As a shorter, aggressive fighter, you also need to learn how to get comfortable under fire. Get comfortable with punches coming at you. Not see punch and freak out. All right, because now it's like, oh shit, I gotta start all over again. And the more comfortable you are under fire, especially mentally for the opponent, he knows he's throwing every shot he can throw, and if he sees that his punches are having no effect on you, that's a negative thought in his head. That's self-defeating. He's gonna start doubting himself. And you gotta use that same, like, all right, I'm making this guy miss. I see he's getting tired. I hear him breathing. I see him starting to take more steps backing up. And that's how you fuel yourself. Even if you're throwing 100 punches around, you're looking at the end of the fight knowing that you can win it, and you got to believe in that every single round all the way through. When do you feel like, oh, I'm being effective now? Like, what do you see when you're like, okay, this is exactly where I want to be?
Once I can just break that distance under the arm, once I time their punches, just starting to close in, closing that gap just becomes easy once I just find the rhythm in their punches, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they'll start, and I was like, okay. I'll slowly time it, and then I'll explode in, you know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, it helps if you're thinking more about your position than you are about throwing punches. There's a process to it. Think about your position. If you're in the position, the punches is just going to be there for you when you need it, when you need it to happen.
When you are close to distance, you kind of like throw punches at me. You're like, just biting down, ready to think, but getting comfortable for that too is like, getting comfortable like taking the punches and not like.
If you're comfortable, you can think and execute. If you're not, if you're uncomfortable, you're stuck on defense and you're not actually thinking. You're more worried about what they're doing to you instead of thinking about what you could possibly do back to them.
If you're the sort of opponent, you've got to get on the inside. There's no rule, right? You've got to get close where you can get hit. And if every time you get hit, like you said, you're bouncing out, you're like, oh shit, you're not going to be effective. You're relaxed and taking those shots coming back.
I feel like they're creeping up, like not jumping, coming in so fast. Like Jose, he was constantly coming forward. It's not too fast or nothing, but constantly just stepping. Sometimes when I'm with Rudy, he'll be way far out and he'll just try jumping, and I'm just right there. You know, I feel like with the shorter guy, you gotta kind of get a little closer and then make your move. You know.
As a taller person, it's important to recognize like what my opponent is trying to accomplish right now. Are they trying to hit me? Or are they thinking about just getting in position so later on they can hit me? And I know we've had some experiences with that. Like, oh, wait, this guy isn't even trying to hit me. He's just trying to get in position. And then when he was there, it worked.
That's what really messes with me. When I'm throwing the jet, like at Lonnie, throwing everything I got, he's just constantly stepping forward, blocking everything. I mean, that just breaks me down, honestly. It really does.
But then if you recognize that that's what he's trying to do, it's not going to be as defeating to you. You know, like, why? He's waiting for me to punch. I'm going to make him be first now. Like, there's always a way to turn that around on somebody.
A lot of times if you get in there with a guy and you can feint and they do this.
Like, oh, I can control this easy. Like, I got plenty of tools in my bag to use them.
I know that I can throw, feint just to give myself a rest, and they're going to block and move out and then reset. But yeah, just that, being able to stay there and pick everything off and keep walking forward, keep slowly take away the space.
You gotta actually smoke him to get him to back up. Like you gotta crack him to get him to back up off you.
It also helps to be able to hit somebody hard and crack them a few times, because now the feints are a little more effective. Now the level change. Now you can make them think about what you're doing. But if they're not respecting any of that, they're
It makes it a little harder. It does. It definitely does.
As a shorter opponent, you've got to stay in position.
Yeah.
You have to stay in position, right? That's first. More than punches, you've got to be there. You've got to be there. You've got to be ready on everything. If you're out of position, you can't counter it. For the taller opponent, they're going to keep you out of position all night. But if you can stay there and just getting in slowly, 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 I think you'll be much more effective. Managing distance. For me, if you can control the distance and control the space between you and your opponent, you have a lot of control over the fight, right? You can fight on your terms. If you don't really know where you are and you're too close, you're too far away, you're too smothered, whatever it is, then you're gonna find yourself in trouble either defending or getting off on your punches. You know, you're always feeling like your punches maybe are too smothered or you feel like you're just missing, right? So being able to manage distance and know exactly where you are and have that timing between you and your opponent where if your opponent steps forward, you step back. If your opponent steps back, you step forward. And timing that the right way where you're effective, you know. It is a dance and you are working with someone else, so you've got to be able to manage. That's something that I've been effective at, you know, in my short career, is being able to manage distance and time and timing of where they are and where I need to be. Thank you for joining me for that workout. I hope everyone got something out of that. If you're a shorter opponent, you learn how to get inside, and if you're a taller opponent, you learn how to stay the fuck out. Go over that video a few times if it helps, and try to understand what coach is saying and how to implement it into your own training, and find what works for you. There's always a scenario where you're either taller or shorter opponent, so you must know all areas. In boxing, you can't be uncomfortable in the ring. You don't want an area where, oh, if I get here I'm not good, or if I go there I'm better. You want to get comfortable everywhere in the ring. You may drift to a certain style, but you want to know and understand every style there is in the ring. You don't want to get in the ring and have someone pressing you and be like, oh, I don't like to be pressed, and be kind of trapped. Go through both, understand both, like and subscribe if you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you in the next one.